Welcome back everyone. At this stage we will work on relational DB table operation. The work we have completed so far is user registration, login logout, list view and its details showing, inserting new records, updating record and deleting records. So now we're going to do a little complex operation. So let's get started. So our initial plan is to view client-wise product purchase details from the list view on the home page and sell the product to a client. I won't focus too much on UI UX here, I'll just show the main functionality here. So let's create a product table where the client table will be referenced as a foreign table. Because we will be selling our product to some client. Right? So let's create a model class called product. And as usual, write models.model inside the parentheses. Now let's define a field called client, which is actually a foreign key for the product table. Here the foreign key is actually referring to the ID of the client table. So refer to the client table inside the parentheses. Here put on_delete equals models.cascade. The on_delete equals models.cascade option is used in Django's models to specify that when a referenced object is deleted, the objects that reference it should also be deleted. It's a way to maintain referential integrity in your database. The attribute is related_name, very useful in Django when you want to give a meaningful name to the reverse relationship. Using related_name can make your code more readable. Actually, by default, Django would use something like product_set if no related_name is specified. Instead of accessing the related products from a client object using client.product_set.all, you can use client.products.all, which is much clearer and easier to understand. I will share more details on this topic later in this tutorial. Now let's define a character field called product name. Its max length will be 100. You can give a length value larger than this if you want. Now let's define a decimal field called price. Our goal is to sell each product to each client at different prices. Here I will give the maximum digit as 10, you can give a larger number if you need. And I will give the decimal place value too. I think this is the standard format. And finally we will define a date field. Here I have chosen datetime field as the field type, where I will set auto now at equals true so that the current date and time are automatically set when storing new data. Now let's define the string function as usual. There is no need to explain anything new about it because you all already know it and what I have discussed in the previous tutorial. Since we have defined a new model, we need to run the make migrations and migrate commands. Right? I hope you all know the reason for this already because we discussed it in detail in the earlier tutorial. So first run the make migrations command. Yes, it has completed successfully. And you see a new py file has been created in the migrations folder. Now let's run the migrate command. So type python manage.py migrate and hit enter. Great, this also has been completed successfully. Now let's register this product module in the admin panel. So create a class called productAdmin. And pass admin.modeladmin inside the parentheses. Now let's define a list of the fields we want to see data for in the admin panel. In this case, I want to see the client's name in the admin list. Then I want to see the name of the product. So I copied the product_name from here. And pasted into this list. And finally I want to see the price in the admin list. So I copy that too. And I pasted it here. For now, I want to see the data of this field in the list in the admin panel. Now let's run the server. Okay, the server is up and running. Now let's get to the admin panel. Oh, where is our product menu? Why isn't it showing? It seems I haven't registered our product module in admin. Let's check. Yes, my assumption is correct, we did not register the product module in the admin. Let's register in the admin. So, type admin.site.register. Then, inside the parentheses, we pass our model class product and the productAdmin class. But before that we need to import the product model class. Now, inside the parentheses, we pass the product model class and the productAdmin class. Now save the file and let's check in the admin panel whether our product menu is there or not. Reload the web browser first. Yes. Look, our product menu is now showing. Great. Let's insert some random data. Notice here that our client field is showing as a dropdown and all the client data is showing as an object in this dropdown because it will store only the client ID as a foreign key. Now let's fill in the remaining fields. And click the Save and Another button to enter some more data for another client. After this, we will work on our web application, which will be quite interesting and a bit complex. But I can assure you that I hope I can explain it to you in a very simple way. I want to share something with you with sadness. Many of you have watched my tutorials and I believe you are also benefiting from these tutorials, but most of you are not subscribing to my channel. I have shared the statistics with you here. Actually, creating this kind of content takes a lot of effort and time and is quite difficult, which you get here for free. So if I do not get your support, I naturally lose my enthusiasm. My goal is to share with you what I have learned from my 12+ experiences. I promise that very soon I will share with you real-life project-based tutorials on machine learning, AI, deep learning, data analysis and data engineering. So please support me and subscribe to my channel. Okay, let's get back to our tutorial now. Here you see I've already inserted some records which you see in this list in the admin panel. Now our next task will be how to handle relational table operations in our web application. So we will introduce a link next to the ID of this list. When we click on that link, we will show the product purchase history of a specific client and also show the sale of a new product to that client. So let's get back to work. Actually, from now on, the work will start getting a little complex, as I said at the beginning. I would like to request you to watch my previous tutorials if you haven't watched them first. Click on the I button above to get the tutorial series. The link is also given in the description box below. So first we go to the home page and introduce a link called products here, and by clicking on that link we want to see the product purchase history of a specific client. Here write product in the URL, which we will define in the urls.py file. So let's go to the urls.py file. For convenience, let's copy this line and paste it here on the last line. Here, in the list view of the home page, product is given as the URL action. This is what we need to define in the urls.py file. You already know this process. And here you see I'm passing the client ID to the URL. Now let's declare a function called product in the views.py file. You also know this process. I'm maintaining comments here. Actually, it's a good habit to maintain it. Okay. Now let's define a function called product. And as usual, we need to pass request and client ID inside the parentheses. Because we will be looking at the product purchase history of a specific client. Right? The first thing we will do is check user authentication. So let's copy this authentication check statement. If you have any confusion about this, check out the previous tutorials. Now let's first retrieve the client's ID and assign it to a variable called client. Here we take the client model class inside the parentheses and assign its primary key as ID. Now let's retrieve the list of products. So here I declared a variable called products. We will fetch the product list according to the client's ID. So to get the product list according to the client, type client.product. Let me clarify something that I mentioned at the beginning of this tutorial. Here in the model class I gave related name equals product. So through this we can easily retrieve the client's ID. That's why we can write client.product.all here. Otherwise we would have to write client.product_set.all, which is not entirely understandable. I was also talking about this earlier in this tutorial when creating the model class. Now we will give a return render statement where we will call the product.html page with the request parameter and pass the client and products variables. Now let's write an else statement, because if the user is not authenticated, we will show a message and redirect him to the home page. In this case, I want to give the message you have to log in first. And redirect to home page. Now let's create the products.html page in the template folder. My initial goal is to just show the product purchase history of a specific client. Here I am copying common codes from another HTML page. These codes are actually used in more or less all pages. This is the main reason for copying. Here, first I change the text of the h1 tag to product purchase. Notice here that this code already contains the specified client info. Now what we need to do is to display the products that the client has purchased as a list form. For this, we captured a list of products purchased by a specific client in this views file. So we will show these products in list form using a loop. So let's run a loop of products here. I'm replacing service with product. Here I also replace all variables name with product. Next I will change the names of the fields defined in this product model. So first, let's change the service text to product, because we've looped through the product. Now we will take the fields from the product model. Let's take the product name field first. Replace the service name text with product name. Now let's take the price field. In the same way, replace the text amount with the text price. And finally, let's take the date field. And replace the text service date with the text date. Okay, we've pretty much completed our initial work. Oh, one last thing left to do. Here, above the H1 tag, there is a button. This button will be needed to add a product. So let's change the text of this button to new product. Here I will change the URL action name of the new product button later. Let's see if the URL action name product is given on our home page or not. Yes, it is given here. Through this, we can access the product page. Reload the browser and see the change. Look here, a link called product is showing with each record. Click on any of the links. Here you see a purchase history of client ID number 13. Let's go back to the editor here. You can see that the URL action new service is given to the new product button. Clicking on the new product button will redirect you to the new service page. So now we will use this new product button to enter a new product purchase record. Now let's name the URL action new product so that we can enter a new product purchase record. Now we need to define a path called new product in the urls.py file. So let's go to the urls file. I'll copy this line for convenience and paste it at the very end. Now we need to give the URL action name that we gave for the new product button on the product page to this URL path. Here, enter the text new_product as the name, views, and path respectively. Now, let's create a function called new_product in the views.py file. Now let's go to the views file and create the new_product function. It's actually a good practice to write a comment before writing a function so that we can keep track of each function. So define the new_product function. And as usual, pass the request and client ID parameters inside the parentheses. Now first we need to check the user authentication, so let's apply an if condition to check the user authentication. Now we need to declare a variable called client, which will get the ID of the selected client. You already know how to retrieve the ID of a specific client. Now let's bring the products purchased by the client. Although it was not needed, I am still keeping it in case I need it later. Now since we will be entering product purchase records, we need to do this through a form, so we need the post method. Now we need to declare an object reference for our form, so let's create an object reference called form. Oh! Have we developed any form for this yet in the forms.py file? We haven't developed any form for this yet. Let's first create a form for this in the forms.py file. Okay, let's create a class called newProductForm and pass the forms.modelForm parameter inside the parentheses as usual. Before moving forward, let's first import our product model class. For my convenience, I am copying the above field and its properties and paste it under the newProductForm class. I copied this because the form properties of the service form and the properties of the product form are almost the same. Now let's see which field properties can be added to this form from the product model class. Here we will only consider the price and product name fields, where we will auto-set the client ID. Here I replaced service name with product name and replace amount with price. Okay, now we need to change the placeholder text. Here I will write enter price in the placeholder. And for the next line, write product name. Now we need to define the meta class. Now assign the model class as usual. Here the model will be the product class. Now define the fields. Here, I want to put the product name field first in the form and then the price field. So first I will put the product name in the array and then the price. Now we need to write the init function where we will set the client's ID through the keyword argument. Since I did the same thing for the service form, I copied the code block from there. This code block basically works in 4 steps. Step 1, Initialization method. The init method initializes a new object. Step 2, Args and Quargs. These are used to pass a variable number of arguments and keyword arguments to the method. Step 3, Extracting client, extracts the value of the keyword argument client from Quargs and assigns it to self.client. Step 4, Calling the superclass's init, calls the initializer of the superclass, passing along any remaining args and quargs. Now let's go back to the views file again. The first thing we need to do is import our new product form class. So, import it. Now let's implement the functionality for the new product form. So, after checking the post method in the if statement, let's define an object reference for new product form called form. This is where we will get and assign the current client's ID. Now let's check if the form is valid. So write if and as usual write form.is valid as we wrote in the case of other forms. Now if the form is valid, I will declare a variable called product and where I will save the form value, but here I will set the commit to false, which means I will not save the form data to the database right now. Now we are assigning the client ID to the client of this particular product, which means we will setting the ID of our current client for the product table. Now we will finally save the form. Now let's give a message to the user if the save is successful. In this case, I am giving the message product added successfully. And after that I will redirect to the product page. Now I will redirect to the product page. At this stage, we need an else statement because we need to give the user a message if the data is not saved. In this case I am giving the message product not added. Since the product is not saved in the database, we will initiate the form again by calling the URL action new product. Here, the new product action actually refers to the URL action, which we defined as a name in the urls.py file. So far we have seen what to do if the form is valid and what to do if it is not valid. Now we will see what to do if the form data is not posted. We will do the same thing here as in the previous line, that is, initiate the form again by calling the URL action new product. Although this else condition could have been avoided, it could have been done by redirecting the user to the list view page with a message. Now we will define new product.html in the return render statement, and also pass the form through the Django tag. Everything I've done so far is form related. Now let's write the final else statement, where we'll provide the logic for what to do if the user isn't authenticated. In that case, I will show a message to the user and redirect to the home page. You can implement other logic if you want. But for now, I will show a message and redirect to the home page. That's all I will do, I won't make it too complex. Now let's create a new page called new_product.html. For convenience, I am copying this code from the new service page. Actually, you already know about this codebase, we discussed the details while developing the registration feature, so I don't see much discussion about it here. Still, if you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments. Here, I am just changing the service text in the h1 tag to product. Now let's run the project. Let's go to home page first. Click on any product link. Now click the new product button. So let's add a record, which is adding a record for client ID 4. You can see it by looking at the address bar of the browser. Now hit the update button. Nice. You see, our new record has been added. Let's add another record. Here I gave 565234 as the price. Now hit the update button. Great, this record has also been updated. Now let's add another record for another client. Notice here that the ID of this client is 13. We will now add a record for this client. Here you see that this client only has one product purchase item. Let's add another product for this client. Enter the product name and price and hit Update button to insert this record for the client ID 13. Now look here, there are 2 records showing for this client 13. So we have learned the use and implementation of relational database with Django. Great. In my next tutorial, I will show how to export data as PDF and CSV. So that's it for today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe. Because more real-life project tutorials on machine learning, AI, deep learning, data analysis, and data engineering are coming very soon. Thank you for now, see you in our next tutorial.